On January 20th, 1996, the locals of a town called Varginha, Brazil, would be in for one of the most strange and terrifying UFO cases ever recorded, as farmers noticed a long cigar-shaped object spitting and sputtering in the air. It seemed to be damaged, billowing white smoke. After almost an hour of watching, it disappeared over a ridge where it eventually crashed. An off-duty pilot who was driving nearby witnessed the crash. He would drive down a dirt road where he arrived at the scene of the wreck. Thinking it was a small plane, the man wanted to help, but within a few steps, he saw this was no ordinary plane. The smell of ammonia filled the air and wreckage littered the area. The man picked up a piece of metal from the object, noticing it favored aluminum foil. He crinkled and dropped it on the ground, only for it to warp back to its original shape. The man pushed forward, hoping to help the ship's passengers. Before he could, however, military vehicles arrived on the scene. Armed soldiers filled the area and refused to let him go any further. He only wanted to help, but a rifle pointed at his face was enough to change his mind. The man left the scene and went into town for some coffee. Before he could enjoy his beverage, he was met by two gentlemen in dark suits. They told him that they knew who he was and where he lived. They even named his wife and daughter, telling him that he needed to forget everything he saw if he wanted to continue living peacefully. In fear of his life, he agreed. The two men then got into an unmarked car and left the scene. Back at the crash site, the military searched the wreckage, noting there was enough room on board for a small crew. With no survivors in sight, it was anyone's guess where said crew went. Hours later, police received calls about a disturbance at a nearby park. 3 girls who went there saw something odd leaned against a cinder block. A creature about 4 feet in stature with no fur and brown reptile-like skin. It had bulbous red eyes and was covered in an oily substance with a very large head. The girls wanted to approach but were frozen in fear. The creature was hurt and afraid as it locked eyes with them. It made no sound, but the girls could hear pleas for help in their heads. Absolutely terrified, they ran away as fast as they could. Back home, they told their friend's mother they came face to face with a demon. The concerned parent would return to the park with the children. Here, she wouldn't find anything close to what the girls saw. A small footprint, one that had 3 long toes. The girls were interviewed and a sketch was made of the creature they saw. They also noted a strong smell of ammonia that permeated through the area for days after the initial sighting. Their stories have stayed the same for over 2 decades. Hours later, 2 military policemen were called to the scene. While patrolling the area, they saw a strange humanoid creature dart across the road. A young soldier named Marco Cherez chased and quickly caught this strange creature. They claimed it reeked of ammonia and had dark and oily skin. They restrained and brought the being to a hospital where it later died. Soon after this event, Marco would grow ill with an unexplained sickness. He said his skin felt greasy and the disgusting smell that was on the creature stayed with him. His condition would quickly worsen and he would be placed in intensive care. Strangely, no one could figure out what was going on, and at the young age of 23, Marco died of an unknown cause. He did not receive an autopsy and had a closed casket funeral. Calls continued to come in about a dangerous animal on the loose. Firemen were called and arrived at an odd scene. Citizens watched in awe as a creature giving off an ammonia-like smell retreated to some nearby woods. With help from the military, the firemen were able to catch 2 of these otherworldly beings. People at the scene claimed to see them loading 2 black bags into a large truck. One bag squirmed while the other was reportedly still. Next, a nearby hospital was taken over by the army and put on lockdown. A truck pulled up at the door and unloaded 2 small bags. They would be taken inside for x-rays where odd behavior would continue. The doctor in charge claimed that he wasn't allowed to see inside the bag or any pictures that were taken. He was told afterwards that everything he saw must be kept secret no matter what. Once gone, the halls reeked of sulfur to the point no one could stand it. The hospital would be cleaned multiple times, but the smell persisted, and one of the men who caught the creatures ended up dead from another unnamed illness. If all this wasn't strange enough, multiple military men remember a United States Air Force plane landing at their base. They watched as armed soldiers loaded 2 boxes inside the plane and left. Many agree that Brazil didn't know what to do with these creatures, so the USA didn't mind stepping in. Years later, multiple eyewitnesses who saw the aliens have received threats from the Brazilian government. The mother who saw the footprint was offered a briefcase full of money to retract her statement and leave town. A documentary film crew found Marco's partner who was with him on that fateful day. However, when they tried to get an interview, he refused and even threatened the team with a gun. Now, say what you want about aliens, but in my opinion, it wouldn't be crazy to say that something happened in this small Brazilian town. There have been claims that the story was a hoax or blown out of proportion, but a case with this many witnesses and evidence is hard to disprove. This case is so famous that multiple movies and documentaries have been made retelling the story, and in UFO circles, it's even been nicknamed the Brazilian Roswell. So the next time you're on the hunt for a chilling and hard-to-deny rabbit hole, look up the Varginha UFO incident. It just might make a believer out of you. Follow for more.